wild phase, but
Mm-hmm.
I was the good daughter because I always called him dad, and Howdy was a great guy. But anyhow, but okay, they live out in the country, out in the middle. I mean, we all if you're out there, everybody rides dune buggies. I mean, for fun, and he had a salvage called Howdy's Salvage back when I was growing up. Well,
Mm-hmm.
uh, so we go to the funeral, and now she's already been to prison like 4 times, but she's totally clean and all sorts of stuff now. But she's actually, been staying on the right track for oh heck, she's been straightened up probably 7 years ago. So oh shit. So anyhow, he so she's telling me, well, it turns out that I guess I just shook, by the way. I guess I was like, wow, I said, where'd he die? Or she got telling us the story. Well, okay, now the town where they live isn't even a town, doesn't even have a school, nothing like that. We're talking out in the middle of nowhere. It's awesome. Well, turns out that I guess he died while they were on vacation. Well, her brother, her sister-in-law, and her youngest son were all in a travel trailer on a vacation. All right. Well, and her mom stayed home because her mom always does. Um, but her mom's something else. But she means well, but oh my God, she's in that case. But she, so I guess he died while they were in Arkansas. Okay, she went to wake him up, and he had died in his sleep. Well, so instead of calling the authorities, they brought him home.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, so after they got home, they walked in, and her mom comes out and goes, "Hey," and she looks at Shelly and her brother and Bobby and says, "Is everything all right?" And they said, and before they could say another word, she goes, "He died, didn't he?" And they're like, "Yeah." Well, so yeah, after the fact, they found a whole bunch of heart medicine that they didn't know that he had any heart problems and all sorts of stuff. But anyhow. So uh, the cops, they called to let the cops know, or to let them know, the ambulance cops, whatever, know. Well, so a cop comes out there, and I don't know if it's highway patrol or if it's county, but he's like, okay, where is he? And they told him, they're in the travel trailer, and he's like, in the travel trailer, and he looks at Shelly and he's like, but you're here. Why was he in the travel trailer? And she's like, well, he said he wants to go lay down and get some sleep. He's like, yeah, but you're home. So why? I don't get it. And she said, I don't know. I guess he wanted to go sleep in the travel trailer. Well, so it goes on, and he's like, yeah, and she's like, well, the cop said, did you move him? She said, or no, did you move the body? And she said, no. Well, she didn't. She didn't touch the body to move it. They moved the whole travel trailer, but that's beside the point. She goes, he goes, okay. He said, but I just don't get why he was. She said, I don't know why he just said he wanted to go lay down. Well, so something else, and she go, and finally the cop asked the right question. He said, well, where were y'all? Were y'all not here? She's like, oh no, we were on vacation. He's like, on vacation. She goes, yeah. And she said, that's what people normally do with the travel trailer. And he's like, okay, but oh damn, this one don't have gas. He's like, well, so this happened while y'all were gone? She's like, oh yeah. And he's like, so where did this happen? What state? Were you here in Oklahoma? She's like, no, Arkansas. She just goes on, okay. And she goes, he goes, okay, so you did, oh shit, I got a wolf at me. She said, okay, so you didn't call the authorities, you didn't nothing? She's like, no. She said, I wasn't gonna she said, I know who the ambulance and stuff is here. She said, and I wasn't gonna let just some random person touch my dad, my dad's body. And he goes, okay. She said, and he asked again, you didn't call any authorities, you just drove him here. She said, well, no, I didn't drive him here. He said, you weren't driving this? She's like, no. She's like, or whenever she told him that no, she wasn't letting some random stranger touch her dad, and she was bringing him home to mom. And
Mm-hmm.
she goes, so how much trouble am I in, or so am I in trouble? He's like, I don't know. Well, so he said, look, the lady, he said, I was just closest to the scene. This is actually the lady, the cops that's going to be, that whose scene this actually is, or whose call this actually is. It should be here any minute. I just was closest, so I was just coming here for her to get, to get a start on, for her since she was a little bit behind me. And she goes, okay. Well, so then he just kind of looks puzzled and then starts asking her, I forgot what it was, asked her, he asked her again. He said, so, he said, if you weren't driving, or she said, so you weren't driving the travel trailer? She goes, no. He's like, well, what were you driving? She said, that over there, which was a truck or one of the trucks. And he goes, okay, so who was driving? She goes, you know what? Or she goes, do what? And he goes, who was driving? She goes, about that, she said, she said, I just can't think of the name. My dad just died, so my head's in a little bit of a fog right now. And he goes, okay. And she goes, yep. I need this alien shot off my head when I can. Oh shit, you got people though. And he goes, okay. Well then, the other cop gets there. Or no, after he asked her, he said, after he asked her if she was driving, and she said she couldn't remember who was. Right about then, her brother comes around the corner with a beer in his hand, looks at him, and he said, so you don't know who was driving? Her brother goes, I was driving. Takes a huge gulp of his beer. Why? He said, am I in trouble? Or what kind of trouble am I in? He's like, the cop's like, I don't know yet. He's like, I've never had this. I mean, you did go across state lines and not call it in then. He's like, but look, I don't know. She said, he looked so helpless. It's so funny. And her brother's like, okay, well, let me know when you figure it out. Takes another drink of his beer and walks off. Well, then so the other cop gets there. And they could hear the first cop go out to her. They heard everything she said. He said, he goes out to her and goes, hey, look, tells her that, this didn't happen here. This happened in Arkansas. And she's like, Arkansas? He's like, yeah. No, they didn't call the authorities, but look, there's no suspicious, there's nothing suspicious about it. He's already checked it. He's like, but yeah, this happened on vacation. It wasn't in Oklahoma. And you know what? I don't care. She said it was hilarious. But yeah, they end up calling Arkansas, making, the lady said, well, she said, I have to make some phone calls since it did happen out of state. And so she makes her phone calls to Arkansas, and they heard her Arkansas asked, if there was anything suspicious about it. And she's like, no. And so Arkansas said they really didn't care either. But yeah, she told me, she said, yeah, the cop looks so helpless. And he's like, then when he went out to the other cop, he's like, it did not happen in Oklahoma. And guess what? I don't care. She said it was awesome. But yeah. So they didn't get into trouble or anything. But
Right.
But her thing was they weren't letting somebody, and plus they were bringing him home. They promised her mom when they all took off that that they would bring him home, and they didn't realize exactly what that would mean. But yeah. So anyhow, I'm sitting there busting up laughing. All of us were. She's telling us the story, and her brother walks by and just talking. And it's like, yep. He said, I just asked how much trouble am I into? And he's like, I don't know. He said, I thought the poor guy was going to cry. Yep. We buried him in a pine box, a real pine box. Like the old-fashioned school, looking ones, not a nice casket. He went buried in a pine box. So then each one of us that stayed around after the actual service, all took turn because it's just graveside. We all took turns screwing in the screws with the screw gun. Which then somebody yells, "Hey, wait, no! If Howdy was here, he'd be telling us y'all using too many screws." And I said, "No, he wouldn't. He'd be making the straighten nails because if me and Shelly stayed out and drank too long or too late and wasn't home by the time we were supposed to be, freaking 5 o'clock in the morning, 5:30 in the morning, it don't matter if we still drunk. It doesn't matter if we were hungover. Well, I didn't get hangovers, but it didn't matter. Our butts were either out straightening nails or were, breaking rocks, something like that." And I said, so straightening nails really sucked. He'd only make us do it because we'd been, out partying. And we could come there even though we was that young. That's one thing. Howdy's thing is, which I'm normally against. But, we could come there and drink. Well, Shelly was a wild child, so she was going to party no matter what. But we could come there and drink and not have to, have a curfew. Or if we went out, that was a different story. But, yeah, so anyhow. But Howdy had Howdy Brew, which was Natural Light or Michelob Best. So there was a couple cases, or a couple 6-packs of it in his cask, or in his pine box, and all sorts of stuff. But they are everywhere.
Yeah, I know.
And the shark is up on the beach. Oh, not anymore. Well, yeah, he is. Yeah, shark made it back to the water. But somebody's still shooting the shark. Dude, you're after here? Nope, there I went. I don't know why he didn't just revive me. Oh, he's not gonna make it either. He had 3 health, but he couldn't health up fast enough. Chris, you okay? It's you versus 2 others.
Me versus 1 other.
Yep. I'll be right back.
1.